Thank you so much for joining me for this lightning conversation, Avery, Kelly, and Colleen. Welcome and really appreciate your contribution. Uh, would love for you to quickly introduce yourselves, and then I'll say a little bit more and we'll dive right in. Avery?
Sure. I'm Avery Quayle. I am the Senior Marketing Director for MicroStrategies. I am what feels like lifelong marketer who has spent her entire career working for mostly small and mid-sized businesses and either helping them build their marketing function from the ground up or revamp their marketing departments.
Excellent. Welcome. Kelly, would love to hear your voice.
Hi, I'm Kelly Curtis. I am a marketing manager at MicroStrategies. I am passionate about all things events as it pertains to planning, orchestrating, executing. That's really where my heart is, and that's really what lights my fire when I'm working.
Excellent. Welcome. And Colleen?
I'm Colleen Busco. I handle the whole digital side of marketing. I've sort of spent my career behind the screen, as I like to say. And, I like to sort of be the face of the brand and be that first impression behind.
Beautiful, beautiful. And of course, all three of you, the mighty three, all around. So I'd love to get into kind of exploring the narrative and the themes that's coming up for the conference on June 19th. And you know the narrative, you know the themes, if you will, all around. Please feel free to talk over each other, talk over me. Let's interrupt each other. Let's just really explore what you're thinking. So please chime in. Whoever would like to start, just what's your perspective? You're all too quiet. You're all far too respectful. So Colleen, what are you thinking? What comes to you when you think about the narrative and the themes that we've been exploring?
Yeah, so to me, this is sort of just the next step in our journey. We had our event on May 8th, Leadership Through and Beyond the Crisis, and that was sort of the first, for us, gathering people of all different perspectives to look to the future and through the crisis. And now that we've had a little more experience in our time of crisis, and we're sort of coming, to a new reality. And so we're really looking to transcend the crisis. It's not so much about just leading through it. Now we are looking to how we can build upon what we have and what we've learned and just continue through and make it a new leg.
So what does transcend mean to you three? And please feel free to go back to any question. So
to me, it's sort of the next steps beyond, like, as Colleen said, the original May event was, how do we get through this really? Like, what are we experiencing? How do we get through this? Transcending to me is like, what's beyond? What's next? How are we've had this thing happen to all of us that has really fundamentally changed all of our lives in so many ways, not just, on the business level. We have new relationships with technology. I don't think I've ever spent so much time in front of screens as I have in the last 12 weeks, to the point where I have technology fatigue almost. Like, I don't want to deal with technology if I'm not working, to be honest. Whereas it was a totally different relationship that I had with technology before all of this happened. My phone was connected to my hand before this, and now I'm like, I don't want to touch my phone. I don't want to watch TV. I want to read a real book or something like that afterwards. So to me, transcending is, okay, the crisis has happened. How are we going beyond that? Like, what's next? At least when I think of the word transcending, that's sort of where I land as far as personal perception.
That's how I'm envisioning it too. We had this May 8 event that was the foundation of the discussions about uncertainty and risk and anti-fragility. And to me, now we're going to kind of apply that into real life scenarios, into real life conversations with people all over the world that are in different career paths, different chapters of their lives, and really just see how it unfolds.
So I think it's also, all good. To me, transcending is not necessarily focusing on the crisis itself. Like, we did have those discussions, and now it's sort of using the crisis as a piece of what we're taking with us through it, but it's really, 5 years from now, it's going to be, remember that time, and now we are beyond that time, and we won't be talking about it all the time. And so it's truly looking beyond. Yeah, sure, it's obviously, it has affected us, and perhaps we're exploring how and the impact it has, but we're trying to maybe put it sort of in the rearview mirror, dare I say.
So as we're transcending, to that point, you've all emphasized, as we're transcending, how is our relationship changing with each other, with technology? Because you've all called that out. So what's different today? How is that relationship, other than technology fatigue? What comes up for all of you?
So, I mean, I think this is a hard answer for what has changed as far as like the personal relationships with Kelly and Colleen. We are actually tighter. Colleen and I sat in the same office before this, but Kelly did not. Kelly was in one of our other offices, and we always had a good relationship and we talked, but quite frankly, like, this has made the relationship much tighter. And but at the same time, I know in my personal life, some of my friendships have sort of, that were really based on doing things together and being together, have sort of distanced, because that personal interaction wasn't possible for the last 3 months. So it's just, for me, it's fundamentally flipped a lot of things in my life.
Everything is redefined. Like, what closeness meant to us before is not the same.
So what's not redefined? What is the same? So that's an excellent, forgive me for interrupting you, but that's part of definitely what are professional and personal entangled together. Things are being redefined. What's the same? What hasn't changed?
I mean, I think our priorities are still the same. At least, my priorities have always been my family, my health, and the safety of others. And so it is still the same. And even relationships with friendships being priorities, it's more how you act upon those priorities and how you facilitate what those relationships are and what they really mean to you. So they're perhaps in the same place, but they're just expressed differently.
Yes, Kelly.
And Colleen, I can feel what you're saying about your priorities, but for me, I actually feel like everything has changed. There's no aspect of my life today that is the same as it was a few months ago. Nothing.
If you can go back to before the crisis hit and where you are today, what would you say to your former self? What would you say to that? What would you say to that Kelly? What would you say to that Colleen? What would you say to that Avery?
I would say that don't dwell so much on like the small stuff. If nothing else, I've learned, like, I can't dwell. Like, I had a tendency to like rethink and think over things like, oh, I didn't do something that I should have done it this way. And I would think, and now I not so much, like, hey, it's more a matter of, I don't have time for this. So
don't dwell.
Just acknowledge that, like, you messed up or whatever. I made a mistake, and let's move on.
So be open.
Yeah.
Excellent. Please, Kelly, Colleen.
I think my biggest learning curve has been, I think we all have that safety box that we kind of live within. And before this, I don't feel like you really had to push yourself too far out of it. You could keep doing your job without having to be uncomfortable. And I know I said this in our last discussion, but learning how to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think, I would tell myself, I mean, how much farther could we have been in our careers if we pushed ourselves to the extent we have in these last couple months, the last 5, 10, 15 years, and we held ourselves, I think I held myself back. And
I see the spark in your eyes right now as you're saying what you're saying, Kelly. Never lose that spark, respectfully. How about Colleen, yourself? What would you say to yourself pre-COVID?
When you said it, my first reaction was, brace yourself, girl, because no one could have known what was coming. And what, it goes into exactly like Kelly's saying. If you would have said all the things that we did, myself personally, and then as a team, we would have thought that you're out of your mind. Yeah. And so knowing that.
You actually did say I was out of my mind. You actually did say I was out of my mind.
We did say you're crazy a couple of times. Yeah.
And, it has been so crazy. And we talk about the uncertainty all the time. And now looking back, seeing what we have gotten done in just a short amount of time and to look forward, it does give you that new perspective. Like, now I'm still ready to brace myself. Here we go. What's next? And keep it going. Where I don't know that that same sentiment, like Kelly was saying, that wasn't really there before.
Mhm.
Excellent. So I know we've just come up to our limit in terms of lightning conversation, if you will. This has just been the tip of the iceberg. I'm really, really hopeful and optimistic that we'll get a chance to dive deeper. But thank you so much. And you know how much I love you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, Sai.
Yes, thank you, Sai. And we love you too.
Thank you so much.